The Zrevan Dominion believed the universe belonged to them. For centuries, their empire had expanded from one system to another, crushing any species that dared to resist. Their soldiers were trained to follow orders without question, their commanders to plan invasions with precision and cold calculation. In the eyes of the Dominion, Earth was nothing more than a small backward planet, home to a species they considered weak and primitive. The fleet prepared for the mission with all the arrogance that came naturally to them. Thousands of ships formed a crescent in space, glinting under distant suns, each one loaded with weapons designed to obliterate entire cities in seconds. Officers walked along the halls, inspecting the crews, barking orders, and reminding everyone that failure was not an option. In their minds, this would be a quick victory, a mission so simple it barely deserved attention. Yet, as they approached the blue planet, something unexpected happened. A faint ripple in the space around Earth made the navigators uneasy. It was subtle, almost unnoticeable, but enough to cause a ripple of doubt. The commanders dismissed it as a minor anomaly, a quirk of the planet's magnetic field, or an unknown cosmic phenomenon. They had conquered thousands of worlds, and a single human planet would be no different. Meanwhile, on Earth, life went on in its usual chaos. Cities bustled, machines hummed, and people moved about their daily routines, completely unaware of the threat gathering above them. But not everyone was oblivious. Deep underground and in secret facilities, teams of scientists, engineers, and military strategists watched the skies closely. They had noticed unusual patterns, signals that hinted at something massive approaching. The warnings had been debated for years, dismissed at times as paranoia. But now, the data made sense. They called it the fleet, and unlike anything humanity had ever faced, it was enormous. The Dominion's ships dwarfed the largest human vessels, their weapons far beyond Earth's current capabilities. The specialists knew the odds were against them. Every instinct told them that humans should panic, should prepare for evacuation. But panic was never humanity's answer. Instead, there was focus, a silent determination that spread through the control rooms and command centers. Plans that had existed in fragments for decades suddenly came together. Old treaties, secret alliances, and long-forgotten prototypes were activated. Scientists had been working on experiments in energy shielding, orbital defense systems, and electromagnetic disruptors. Engineers had developed weapons that could strike faster than any human eye could follow. Even civilians played a part, unknowingly contributing to a network of support that spanned the globe. Humanity had prepared quietly, and now, for the first time, those preparations would be tested. The first contact was as quiet as it was shocking. Scouts from the Dominion's fleet entered the upper atmosphere, expecting no resistance. They were met with a shimmer, almost invisible, a field of energy that caused their instruments to flicker and fail. Systems that had never malfunctioned on a single mission now faltered. Panic spread among the officers as they realized something was wrong. The humans had built defenses that shouldn't exist, defenses that were sophisticated enough to disrupt their most advanced technology. On Earth, the tension was palpable but controlled. Operators monitored every system, sending corrections and adjustments in real time. Communication was precise and urgent. One wrong move could mean disaster. Yet there was no fear, only focus. Each human involved knew the stakes, but there was also a strange confidence in their eyes. They had prepared for this moment for years, and despite the odds, they believed in their ability to protect their home. Back on the fleet, confusion turned to disbelief. The Dominion soldiers had never seen a species organized so quickly, so efficiently, in the face of such a threat. Commands were shouted across bridges, orders given and rescinded as instruments failed and ships collided. The officers could not understand it. How could such a primitive species possess such control over their own planet and space around it? Their arrogance faltered. replaced by an uncomfortable realization. This would not be the easy victory they had imagined. The first clash was brief but telling. A small attack squad attempted to breach the energy field around a major city. In seconds, their weapons were neutralized. Communications failed, engines sputtered, and ships drifted helplessly in orbit. Earth's defenses had not even fired a shot yet. They had simply held their ground, their shields proving more powerful than the invaders expected. Watching from control rooms, humans remained calm. They had prepared for this. Every calculation, every simulation had led to this moment. Adjustments were made in real time, shields reconfigured, countermeasures aligned. It was a quiet, tense dance of strategy and technology, one that left the Dominion scrambling to understand. The soldiers on the alien ships were trained for war, yes, but nothing in their history had prepared them for an opponent that refused to panic. An opponent that met superior force with intelligence and patience. The aliens tried to adapt. New formations were called, new strategies attempted, but each move was countered before it could take effect. The humans observed patterns, predicted movements, and responded faster than the Dominion could process. Systems that were supposed to be unbeatable were suddenly vulnerable, and ships that had been thought invincible were disabled. The first signs of defeat began to appear, tiny at first, but impossible to ignore. Amid all this, there was an unexpected human factor: courage. It was not blind bravery or reckless heroism, but a quiet determination that spread from commanders to soldiers, from pilots to engineers. Every person involved knew the risks, knew that the enemy was stronger and more experienced, yet none hesitated. Decisions were made quickly, mistakes corrected immediately, and yet humanity never lost its composure. It was as if every person involved carried the weight of generations on their shoulders, but refused to buckle. The Dominion officers could see it now. The humans were not just defending their world. They were fighting for it in a way that transcended technology. There was an instinct, an unpredictability, an understanding of risk that machines alone could not replicate. Every human action seemed to anticipate the next, every defense carefully balanced with offense. The arrogance of the invaders began to crack dot by the end of the first encounter. The Dominion fleet had suffered its first significant losses. Ships that were supposed to be unstoppable were drifting powerless, their crews struggling to understand what had gone wrong. Panic had begun to spread in small pockets. Orders became frantic, coordination faltered, and the once confident officers faced a terrifying realization: Earth would not fall easily. Meanwhile, humanity remained focused. There were no celebrations yet, only meticulous attention to the task at hand. Every victory, no matter how small, was a step toward survival. Every human involved understood the significance of what was happening. They were defending their planet, yes, but also sending a message. No species, no matter how powerful, could take Earth lightly. As night fell across different parts of the world, humans continued their vigil. Observatories, satellites, and control centers hummed with activity. Every data point was analyzed, every possible threat considered. The Dominion fleet hovered above, confident in its strength, yet shaken by the unexpected resistance. The first part of the battle had been won not by overwhelming firepower, but by preparation, unity, and the quiet determination of a species that refused to be conquered. The Zrevan Dominion had expected a quick and effortless victory, a demonstration of their power across the stars. Instead, they encountered something they had never anticipated, a species that, despite being young in the cosmic timeline, understood the value of strategy, the power of patience, and the strength that comes from defending one's home. In the end, Part 1 closes not with triumph, but with the promise of something greater. The humans have shown that they are ready. The Dominion has realized that Earth is not just another planet to conquer. And above it all, A silent tension hangs in space, a prelude to the conflict that will define the future. The battle has begun, but the war is only starting. The Dominion fleet was stunned. What they had assumed would be a routine victory was now a dangerous, unpredictable battle. Above Earth, their ships hovered in confusion, some still drifting powerless from the first encounter. Their pride had been shaken, and the officers struggled to regain control. Every move they made seemed to be anticipated, every tactic countered. The humans were not just defending, they were outmaneuvering. On Earth, the people in control rooms and underground bunkers did not feel invincible. They were aware of the enemy's strength, aware of the destruction that even a single ship could cause. Yet there was a quiet confidence that came from preparation. For years, they had been building not just weapons, but networks, strategies, and communication systems designed for moments exactly like this. Every decision now, every adjustment made, was part of a larger plan that had been hidden from the world until the day it mattered most. Scientists worked with military officers, and pilots with engineers. No one acted alone. Every eye, every hand, and every mind was focused on one goal: keeping the planet safe. They monitored alien signals, predicting movements based on patterns, even when the Dominion tried to scramble them. Data flowed from satellites, drones, and ground sensors, feeding into complex simulations that allowed humans to anticipate the next attack. It was like watching a chess game played at the speed of thought, with humanity holding the advantaged out. Despite all this technology and planning, the human element remained the most important. Decisions were not made by algorithms or machines alone. People made choices, judged risks, and acted with courage. Pilots maneuvered their craft in ways that the aliens could not predict. Soldiers coordinated defenses with precise timing, sometimes improvising when unexpected problems arose. Engineers rerouted power and recalibrated shields while bombs and missiles flew past in the skies above. It was chaos, but controlled chaos, and it relied on the quick thinking and instinct of those defending their home. The Dominion fleet, on the other hand, was not used to this. Their leaders were accustomed to obedience and fear, not resilience and creativity. When one of their strike groups failed, blame was assigned quickly, but assigning blame did nothing to stop the humans. The invaders were forced to adapt on the fly, improvising strategies that had been tested only in theory. Meanwhile, humans were already adjusting, countering new maneuvers before they could take effect. One human tactic in particular stunned the Dominion officers. A network of orbital disruptor satellites, armed with electromagnetic pulses and kinetic projectiles, began targeting critical points in the fleet. In seconds, navigation systems failed, engines sputtered, and ships collided with one another. It was not just a display of firepower. It was a demonstration of precision, intelligence, and timing. Each strike was calculated, not random, and each success emboldened the humans without giving them time to feel overconfident. On the ground, ordinary people watched the skies, though few fully understood what was happening. Some noticed flashes, strange auroras, and temporary disruptions in communication signals. Others simply felt the tension, a collective unease that something extraordinary was happening above them. Governments issued calm statements, but even these carefully crafted reassurances could not hide the fact that the planet faced a threat, unlike any other in history. The Dominion, meanwhile, faced rising fear among their crews. Confidence was replaced by uncertainty, and hesitation spread like a virus through the fleet. Some soldiers still believed victory was inevitable, but more began to question their orders. How could a species so small, so apparently weak, defend itself so effectively? Their officers barked commands, tried to rally their forces, and even attempted aggressive maneuvers, but the humans were always one step ahead. This was not just a battle of weapons, it was a battle of minds. The humans had studied the Dominion carefully, understanding their tactics and strategies long before the ships arrived. The aliens had relied on raw power, expecting fear and submission to do most of the work. Humanity, by contrast, relied on intelligence, coordination, and adaptability. Every defense system had a purpose, every countermeasure was layered, and every action was backed by careful planning. It was a reminder that strength alone does not guarantee victory. Amid all this, the human teams were not without challenges. Equipment failed at critical moments. Unexpected energy fluctuations disrupted communications, and the sheer scale of the attack sometimes overwhelmed even the best prepared systems. Yet, instead of panicking, the humans adapted. Crews shifted responsibilities, repaired systems on the fly, and improvised solutions to problems that had no precedent. There was no hesitation, no second guessing. Every action had a purpose, and every person understood the stakes. The aliens, for their part, could not understand it. They had fought countless wars, conquered many worlds, and expected resistance to collapse under their power. Yet here was a species that refused to break, that responded with precision and intelligence, that turned every advantage they had against the invaders. Each human move was unpredictable, not because it was random, but because it came from a deep understanding of strategy and instinct. As the battle continued, reports of human counterstrikes spread through the Dominion fleet. Ships that had been confident in their invulnerability were destroyed or disabled. Command vessels that should have coordinated the assault were cut off and isolated. Even the fastest, most advanced strike teams found themselves neutralized by defenses that seemed impossible to anticipate. The Dominion officers began to realize that their pride had blinded them to the capabilities of their opponent. On Earth, the human teams remained remarkably calm. Their focus never wavered, even as the battle intensified. Each victory, each countermeasure that worked, was a step toward securing the planet. Yet there was no celebration, no overconfidence. They understood that the Dominion still had enormous power, and that the fight was far from over. The determination that kept them focused was paired with respect for the danger they faced. Humanity's advantage, however, lay not just in technology, but in unity. Across countries and continents, teams worked together seamlessly. Borders and politics faded in the face of a common threat. Scientists shared data freely, engineers coordinated repairs and upgrades, and military units synchronized actions in real time. The Dominion could not predict this level of cooperation because, in their experience, it rarely existed in a single species. Humans, despite their differences, had found common purpose in the defense of their home. As hours passed, the Dominion fleet began to withdraw some of its ships, reassessing the situation. Their pride had been shattered, and fear was spreading among their ranks. They had underestimated humanity, and now they faced a species that was proving far more formidable than they could have imagined. Reports of losses, confusion, and failed attacks continued to arrive at command centers, deepening the sense of panic. Yet, for humans, this was only the beginning. They knew the aliens would regroup, that stronger attacks were coming. But they were ready. Their preparation, their coordination, and their determination had carried them through the first wave of the assault. Each human involved understood that the fight was far from over, but they also understood something else. They had already proven that the Dominion could be challenged. By the end of the day, Earth had survived the first major assault, and the Dominion had been forced to retreat temporarily. The humans did not celebrate loudly, but there was a quiet sense of accomplishment. They had defended their home, proven the value of preparation and unity, and demonstrated that even a seemingly small and weak species could stand against the greatest power in the galaxy. Above it all, the tension remained. The Dominion was not finished, and neither was humanity. Both sides understood that the next phase of the battle would be even more intense. But for the humans, there was something different this time. They had seen their own strength, their ability to respond under pressure, and the power of working together. That confidence would carry them forward, even as the war stretched on. The humans knew one thing for certain: their home would not fall. The Dominion may have underestimated them, but Earth had shown that even in the face of overwhelming odds, it could fight back. The first wave had been a warning, a lesson, and a promise. Humanity was ready, united, and unyielding. And above it all, as the stars shone coldly in the distance, the humans watched, prepared for whatever came next. The Dominion fleet had withdrawn, but their retreat was only temporary. From the moment their ships had been forced to pull back, the officers knew they could not allow humanity to recover so easily. Their pride had been wounded, their plans disrupted, and their confidence shaken. Above all, they were now aware that Earth was unlike any world they had ever encountered. It was defended not only by machines, but by people who refused to be intimidated. In human command centers, the atmosphere was tense, but controlled. Every system was still monitored, every signal analyzed, and every possible scenario prepared for. They knew the Dominion would return, likely with greater force and new strategies. Yet, there was a sense of calm determination that filled the room. The humans had already survived the first strike, adapted to the alien technology, and proven their ability to respond under pressure. Now it was about planning the next move. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to enhance defenses. Shields were reinforced, countermeasures upgraded, and communication networks secured. Unlike the Dominion, humans had the advantage of familiarity with their own planet. They knew every city, every mountain range, every orbital path. This knowledge became a weapon, allowing them to anticipate where the fleet might strike next and prepare accordingly. Military strategists held constant simulations, imagining every possible attack and counterattack. Pilots trained on virtual missions, honing their skills to respond with precision. Even ordinary citizens contributed in small but meaningful ways, maintaining infrastructure, keeping essential services running, and reporting unusual activity from the skies. It was a reminder that defense was not only about weapons. It was about community, coordination, and the shared desire to protect home. Meanwhile, the Dominion fleet regrouped beyond the edges of the solar system. Their officers held councils, trying to understand the humans' unexpected resilience. Their confidence was fading. They had always relied on power, speed, and overwhelming force to win battles. Now they faced a species that met strength with intelligence, anticipation, and adaptability. The Dominion could not comprehend how a world so small could resist so effectively. Their pride made it difficult to admit, but fear was creeping in. When the fleet returned, it did so with renewed strategy. They split into several squadrons, intending to overwhelm the defenses with coordinated attacks from multiple directions. They assumed that quantity would triumph where quality had failed. Yet, they still underestimated the humans. By now, humanity had learned from the first wave. Every movement of the fleet was tracked, every pattern noted, and every likely point of attack prepared for in advance. As the Dominion ships approached, humans launched a series of countermeasures that combined old tactics with new innovations. Orbital defenses unleashed controlled bursts of energy to disable engines and navigation systems. Missiles targeted specific points to maximize damage while minimizing wasted effort. Even more impressive was the way humans anticipated the Dominion's maneuvers, intercepting attacks before they could be fully executed. The alien officers were stunned. For the first time in their history, they realized that sheer power was not enough. On Earth, those monitoring the battle felt a mixture of tension and determination. Unlike the Dominion, they did not underestimate the enemy. Every success was tempered with caution. Engineers worked to repair damage in real time. Pilots adjusted tactics mid-flight, and communication teams ensured that everyone remained connected despite interference. Humans were improvising constantly, combining intuition with technology in ways that machines alone could not achieve. One key factor in humanity's defense was the unpredictability of human decision-making. While the Dominion relied on rigid plans and expected adherence to orders, humans could adapt instantly. A single human operator could make choices in seconds that would require hours of recalibration for alien systems. This unpredictability kept the fleet off balance, forcing them to react rather than act proactively. Even when their attacks seemed coordinated, humans found ways to exploit gaps, weaknesses, and errors, turning each offensive move into an opportunity for counteraction. The battle stretched into hours, and the skies above Earth were a blur of light, sound, and movement. The Dominion fleet unleashed its most advanced weapons, capable of destroying entire cities with a single strike. Yet, humans had devised defenses that minimized destruction, shielding population centers while targeting the fleet's vulnerabilities. Every successful defense inspired more confidence, while each failure was met with immediate adjustment. It was a demonstration of resilience and determination that no alien officer could fully understand. Despite the chaos, there were moments of quiet brilliance. Pilots worked in perfect synchronization, dodging enemy fire while striking critical points. Engineers on the ground rerouted energy through backup systems, keeping defenses operational even as attacks intensified. Strategists adjusted simulations on the fly, predicting moves based on subtle cues and past patterns. The Dominion may have had advanced technology, but humans had creativity, adaptability, and courage, qualities that proved just as powerful in a life-or-death struggle. The aliens began to experience something new: frustration. Their officers barked orders, but the fleet's coordination faltered under human pressure. Ships collided or were disabled before reaching targets, and communication breakdowns created chaos among squadrons. For the first time, the Dominion faced a situation they could not dominate. They had assumed that fear, power, and intimidation were enough. Humanity proved otherwise. Meanwhile, on Earth, the defenders remained vigilant. Despite success, they understood the stakes. Every citizen, every operator, every pilot knew that victory was not guaranteed. Yet, there was an unspoken unity that strengthened their resolve. People who had never met each other, from different continents and backgrounds, were connected by the common purpose of survival. It was a force stronger than any weapon, a reminder that humanity's greatest strength lay in its people. As the day progressed, the Dominion fleet suffered significant losses. Ships that were once considered invincible were disabled or destroyed, and entire squadrons were forced to retreat. Panic began to spread among the alien crews. Confidence was replaced by fear, hesitation by doubt. Every new wave of attacks met resistance that was smarter, faster, and more coordinated than they expected. Yet the humans did not become overconfident. They repaired damage, adjusted strategies, and prepared for what would come next. Their success was measured not by destruction, but by protection, the preservation of life, infrastructure, and the planet itself. Every victory strengthened not only their defenses, but also their belief in their own capability. The aliens, by contrast, were demoralized. They had expected an easy conquest and found themselves facing an enemy they could not predict, much less intimidate. By the end of the second day of engagement, it was clear that humanity had changed the game. The Dominion had assumed that Earth would fall quickly, that fear and technology alone would secure victory. Instead, they encountered determination, intelligence, and adaptability. The humans had proven that they could endure, learn, and respond under pressure. The fleet was damaged, morale low, and pride shattered. The first wave of the real battle had been won, not with overwhelming power, but with resilience, strategy, and unity. The Dominion could not ignore it any longer. They were facing a species that refused to submit, a species that had turned the odds against one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. Every officer understood that the coming battles would require more than just weapons. They would need strategy, innovation, and perhaps even diplomacy. But humanity had already made one thing clear: they would not surrender, and they would not be broken. Above it all, the humans remained focused on one goal: protection of their planet. While the aliens recalculated, humans repaired, strengthened, and adapted. Every system was tested, every plan refined, and every person committed. They had survived the first attacks, countered advanced technology, and defended millions of lives. The experience had shown them not only their vulnerabilities, but their incredible potential. As night fell across Earth, the planet was alive with quiet energy. Satellites and drones continued to monitor the skies. Pilots rested briefly before returning to their stations. Engineers checked systems, updated software, and ensured that defenses would function without fail. Humans had learned from every encounter, using knowledge and experience to anticipate the Dominion's next move. Their determination had become a shield as strong as any technology. And so, as the stars shone above and the Dominion fleet regrouped far beyond the solar system, Earth remained vigilant. The humans had proven that survival was not about fear or power alone. It was about intelligence, cooperation, and courage. The alien empire had underestimated them, and the consequences were clear. Earth was defended, alive, and ready for whatever came next. The battle was far from over. But humanity had already sent a message to the stars. They would fight for their home. They would protect each other, and they would not be conquered. And above all, the humans knew that their strength lay not just in their weapons or technology, but in their unity, their ingenuity, and their determination to survive against all odds. The Dominion fleet had retreated, but the humans knew it was only a matter of time before the aliens returned. The brief pause gave humanity a chance to reinforce their defenses, repair damage, and plan for the inevitable next strike. Across Earth, people worked tirelessly, engineers adjusting systems, pilots running simulations, strategists analyzing data, and ordinary citizens supporting in ways big and small. Every effort mattered, because every life counted. Deep underground, in fortified command centers, humans coordinated like a single organism. Communication lines buzzed with constant updates. Satellites scanned the solar system, monitoring the Dominion's movements. Drones patrolled orbit, ready to intercept any approaching ships. Every operator understood their role, and every decision was made with careful precision. The first wave had taught them lessons, and they applied each one without hesitation. Above, the Dominion fleet gathered at the edge of the solar system. Their pride was wounded, and frustration ran high. Officers argued over tactics, trying to figure out why Earth's defenses had been so effective. The humans had adapted quickly, predicted attacks, and countered every move. For the first time, the aliens realized that brute force alone would not win this war. They needed strategy, innovation, and a deeper understanding of their opponent. When the fleet re-entered orbit, it was in several groups, each designed to attack from multiple directions at once. The aliens hoped that overwhelming numbers would break Earth's defenses. They underestimated humans again. The moment the first ships approached, sensors and satellites detected them instantly. Humans knew their positions, predicted their trajectories, and readied countermeasures. It was not chaos. It was coordinated control at an extraordinary scale. The first strike hit near the Pacific Ocean. Missiles fired from orbit, but electromagnetic shields neutralized them before they could reach the surface. Then, kinetic interceptors from satellites disabled several of the attacking ships. The Dominion soldiers had prepared for destruction, but they were met instead with precision, intelligence, and calm human determination. Every attack was countered almost before it began. On the ground, operators worked in unison, adjusting shields and defenses in real time. Pilots maneuvered craft in synchronized patterns, intercepting enemy ships while avoiding fire. Engineers rerouted power to areas most in need, ensuring that defenses remained operational despite the pressure. Every human involved had trained for this moment, and their preparation paid off. The Dominion had the weapons, but humans had the strategy, coordination, and adaptability to match them blow for blow. The Dominion fleet was stunned. Their attacks, planned with meticulous detail, failed repeatedly. Ships were disabled, engines burned out, and navigation systems scrambled. Confusion spread through the ranks, while officers attempted to regroup and issue new orders. Panic began to creep into places that had always been calm, confident, and controlled. The humans had turned the tables, and the Dominion did not know how to respond. One key to humanity's defense was improvisation. Humans did not follow a single rigid plan. They adjusted as the battle unfolded, reacting to new threats in real time. If one defensive measure failed, another immediately took its place. If one approach was blocked, an alternative was deployed. The Dominion could predict some things. But humans were unpredictable in the best sense. They combined logic, experience, an instinct to respond faster than the aliens could react. In space, flashes of destruction marked the fall of several Dominion ships. Human forces used a combination of technology and strategy to strike key vulnerabilities. Command vessels were targeted to disrupt coordination. Smaller fighters intercepted strike teams, and energy pulses disabled weapons without destroying the ships entirely. It was a demonstration of precision and control. The humans were not fighting blindly, they were defending methodically, protecting their planet while inflicting maximum disruption on the invaders, on Earth. Tension was high, but there was also a quiet confidence. Humans had survived the first wave, learned from it, and applied that knowledge effectively. Every successful defense reinforced belief in their abilities, while every failure was a lesson quickly corrected. The Dominion could not anticipate this level of adaptability, nor the human capacity to learn quickly under pressure. Each day of battle strengthened humanity, not just technologically, but psychologically. Meanwhile, the Dominion began to lose cohesion. Officers argued, plans were disrupted, and fear spread among the soldiers. They had never faced an enemy like this one that refused to panic, adapted constantly, and used intelligence as effectively as weapons. Their training had prepared them for battle, but not for an opponent who combined strategy, resilience, and creativity in ways they could not predict. Despite the ongoing attacks, humanity focused on the bigger picture. Protection of civilians was the top priority. Cities were shielded, evacuation routes secured, and the emergency services coordinated to handle any damage. The humans were not reckless. They understood the danger, but they also understood that a disciplined, intelligent defense could save lives. Technology was important, but human decision-making was the real strength. As the battle progressed, humans began to push the Dominion back. The aliens had planned for offense, but humans now took control of the engagement. Using a combination of orbital strikes, precision attacks, and disruption of communications, humans gradually forced the fleet into retreat. Ships that had been confident in their superiority were now scrambling, unsure of where to strike next. Confidence gave way to fear, and hesitation replaced decisiveness. Every success by humans had a ripple effect. Operators who had never worked together before found ways to coordinate in the heat of battle. Pilots learned from each other's maneuvers. Engineers shared insights across continents, and strategists anticipated attacks faster than the aliens could plan them. It was not just a fight of weapons, it was a demonstration of unity, intelligence, and the power of people working together toward a common goal. By the end of the second wave, the Dominion fleet had lost many ships. Their confidence was shattered, morale low, and command structure strained. They had underestimated humanity, and the consequences were severe. The humans had defended their planet with skill, courage, and determination. They had proven that even against overwhelming force, preparation, strategy, and unity could turn the tide. Yet, humans did not celebrate. There was no rejoicing, no overconfidence. They knew the Dominion was not finished, that the next attacks would be stronger and more coordinated. But they had learned something critical. They could fight, survive, and protect their home. Each encounter, each successful defense, built not only confidence, but resilience. Humans were proving that they were not easily broken. Above all, humans understood that their strength came from more than technology. It came from the people themselves, their ingenuity, bravery, and ability to work together. Soldiers, engineers, scientists, and ordinary citizens all played a part. Every person contributed in ways that mattered, reinforcing the idea that defense was not just about weapons, but about unity, courage, and determination. As night fell, Earth remained intact. The Dominion fleet retreated to regroup, but humans stayed vigilant. Satellites and drones continued to monitor space. Communication lines remained secure, and operators prepared for the next wave. Every human involved knew the stakes. Every life on the planet mattered. And every person understood that survival depended not just on technology, but on their own courage, adaptability, and unity. By the end of Part 4, the humans had done something extraordinary. They had survived multiple waves of attack, adapted to advanced technology, and defended their planet with skill and intelligence. The Dominion had been humbled, forced to recognize that Earth was not an easy target, and that its people were far stronger than they had imagined. The humans had learned a crucial lesson. Fear could not guide them. Panic could not rule them, and strength alone was not enough. Only preparation, unity, courage, and adaptability could secure their survival. And as the Dominion fleet retreated into the dark reaches of space, humans remained alert, ready to defend their world against whatever came next. Above it all, a quiet determination filled Earth. Humanity had proven that it could fight, survive, and adapt. And though the battle was far from over, one thing was certain. They would not give up, they would not surrender, and they would protect their home no matter the cost. The Dominion fleet had suffered more than they expected. Their pride was shattered, their numbers reduced, and their confidence shaken. Yet they were not defeated. Far from it. The alien commanders were determined to strike again, believing that overwhelming force could still crush humanity. They gathered in massive ships, planning their most aggressive attack yet. Every squadron, every weapon, and every strategy was refined for maximum destruction. Above Earth, humans watched and waited. They knew this day would come. The previous waves had taught them how the Dominion fought, where their weaknesses lay, and how best to respond. The defenders were no longer reacting, they were anticipating. Every movement of the fleet was monitored, every signal analyzed, every possible attack scenario simulated. Humans had learned from each encounter, and now their experience was a weapon, just as powerful as any missile or energy beam. Preparation was everywhere. On the ground, engineers fine-tuned orbital defenses, repaired damaged satellites, and reinforced shields. Pilots ran simulations and briefings, rehearsing maneuvers that would test both skill and courage. Strategists coordinated attacks and counterattacks, analyzing alien tactics and devising responses before the enemy could act. Even ordinary people contributed, securing cities, assisting emergency teams, and keeping essential services running so that the defenders could focus entirely on the battle. When the Dominion fleet returned, it was like a storm descending from the stars. Thousands of ships moved in coordinated waves, aiming to overwhelm every defense. Lasers streaked across the sky, energy pulses thundered through orbit, and missiles screamed toward Earth's surface. The Dominion had learned from their previous failures, hoping that sheer numbers would finally break humanity's resolve. But humans were ready. Shields absorbed the first strikes. Orbital interceptors destroyed incoming missiles, and energy disruptors disabled enemy engines mid-flight. Every attack was countered before it could achieve maximum damage. Human pilots dodged enemy fire with precision, their instincts honed by countless simulations and hours of real engagement. Engineers adjusted systems on the fly, keeping defenses operational under impossible pressure. The Dominion had the firepower, but humans had adaptability, coordination, and courage, the things no weapon could replace. What stunned the aliens most was humanity's unpredictability. They had studied the Dominion's patterns, predicting movements and intercepting attacks with surprising efficiency. Yet humans were not machines. Decisions were made in the moment, based on observation, intuition, and experience. Pilots who faced overwhelming odds improvised, finding solutions that the Dominion could never anticipate. Soldiers on the ground and in orbit acted with ingenuity, turning the enemy's strength into weakness. Each counterattack revealed new skill, new courage, and new determination. The Dominion fleet began to falter. Ships that had seemed unstoppable were destroyed or disabled. Command vessels lost communication with strike groups, leaving squadrons disorganized. Panic rippled through the alien ranks as confidence crumbled under the pressure of human ingenuity. Every time the Dominion tried a new tactic, humans had already adapted, anticipating the change and preparing a counter. The invaders had expected fear, chaos, and surrender. Instead, they encountered unity, precision, and relentless determination. On Earth, the human command centers were alive with activity. Operators monitored multiple screens, adjusting defenses in real time. Engineers rerouted energy, repaired systems, and maintained communication under conditions that would have paralyzed ordinary teams. Pilots coordinated complex maneuvers, intercepting alien ships with precision and returning safely. Strategists predicted the enemy's next moves and advised action instantly. Each person was part of a larger machine, but it was a machine powered not by algorithms, but by human creativity, courage, and teamwork. Despite the intensity of the battle, humans did not lose focus. Every victory was measured, every action deliberate. Losses were minimized, and every system failure was corrected quickly. Civilians played a part too, following evacuation plans, maintaining essential services, and keeping cities running. Humans understood that defending Earth was not just about technology or weapons, it was about people. Every individual contributed to the larger effort, making the planet more resilient and more united than the Dominion could have imagined. The Dominion tried everything. They sent elite strike teams, faster ships, and advanced weapons designed to destroy humanity's strongest defenses. But humans were ready for them. Orbital defenses targeted critical points, countermeasures neutralized energy weapons, and pilots outmaneuvered the fastest enemy ships. Every attack that should have caused chaos was met with a coordinated response, turning potential disaster into a demonstration of human skill and courage. The battle became more than just a fight for survival. It was a test of human ingenuity. Soldiers, engineers, and pilots had to think on their feet, improvising solutions under pressure that would have seemed impossible before. Humans adapted quickly, learning from every strike and applying that knowledge instantly. The Dominion had never faced an enemy that could learn and respond at such speed while under fire. Their arrogance was their undoing, and humanity's adaptability became the deciding factor in every engagement. Above the chaos, humans began to push the Dominion back. The fleet that had once seemed unstoppable now struggled to maintain formation. Ships were disabled, navigation systems scrambled, and coordinated attacks fell apart. Panic spread among alien crews as they realized their tactics were failing. The humans had turned the battlefield into their own advantage, using intelligence, speed, and courage to dominate without overwhelming firepower. On the surface, humans continued their work quietly but effectively. Communications, surveillance, and logistics ensured that nothing was left to chance. Engineers repaired systems, strategists advised on new tactics, and pilots executed daring maneuvers to keep the enemy off balance. Civilians contributed in subtle but vital ways, from maintaining power grids to monitoring skies for anomalies. Every human played a part, and every contribution mattered. The Dominion fleet, despite its size and strength, could not withstand the coordinated human response. Commanders struggled to issue orders, crews panicked under unexpected resistance, and ships were disabled faster than they could recover. The humans had learned from every prior wave, adapting instantly to new weapons, new tactics, and new strategies. Each human response was faster, smarter, and more coordinated than the Dominion could anticipate. As the day wore on, the Dominion suffered heavy losses. Ships that had been designed for war were destroyed or disabled. Their formations broke apart, and confusion spread through their ranks. Confidence gave way to fear, and hesitation replaced decisive action. For the first time, the Dominion understood that the humans were not just defending, they were fighting intelligently, effectively, and without fear. Yet, humans did not celebrate. They remained focused, aware that the battle was far from over. Every victory had taught them something, and every encounter had strengthened their resolve. The Dominion would return, perhaps with greater numbers or more advanced weapons. But humanity had proven that they could survive, adapt, and fight back with skill and courage. What made humans strongest was not just technology, strategy, or numbers. It was their determination. Soldiers, engineers, scientists, and civilians all played a role, creating a network of strength that the Dominion could not break. Every person contributed, and every action mattered. Even in the face of overwhelming power, humans relied on ingenuity, courage, and unity to defend their planet. As night fell, the Dominion fleet retreated to regroup. Many ships were lost, many crews demoralized, and many officers questioning their plans. Humans had turned the battle into a series of calculated victories, defending their home while minimizing casualties. Earth remained intact, and humanity had proven that it could fight and survive against even the most powerful invaders. Above all, humans knew one thing: the war was not over, but their strength had been proven. They had adapted to the Dominion's tactics, defended their cities and people, and demonstrated that courage, intelligence, and unity were more powerful than fear and destruction. The battle had shown that humanity was capable of extraordinary things when united for a common purpose. By the end of Part 5, the humans had not only survived, but had forced the Dominion to reconsider their strategy. They had learned that intelligence, preparation, and courage could defeat even overwhelming force. They had proven that defending a home was about more than weapons. It was about people, their creativity, their cooperation, and their determination. The Dominion fleet, battered and demoralized, had learned a hard truth: Earth was not a planet to conquer lightly. Humanity had shown that they would fight, adapt, and endure. The war was far from over, but one thing was clear: humans would never surrender, and they would defend their planet at all costs. And so, as the stars twinkled above and the Dominion fleet regrouped in the distance, Earth remained vigilant, alive with determination, and ready for the next wave. Humans had proven themselves not only survivors, but warriors, united by courage, ingenuity, and the unbreakable desire to protect their home. The Dominion fleet had returned once more, larger and more determined than ever. They had regrouped far from Earth, repairing ships, adjusting strategies, and preparing what they believed would be the decisive strike. Their pride demanded victory, and failure was not an option. Every officer, every soldier, Every ship was ready to bring the humans to their knees, or so they thought. On Earth, humans had been preparing for this moment for weeks. Lessons learned from previous attacks were applied to every system, every defense, and every strategy. The planet itself seemed alive with readiness. Satellites scanned the approaching fleet, sensors analyzed the ship's formations, and humans coordinated with precision that rivaled any machine. Yet the people of Earth did not rely solely on technology. Their strength lay in their unity, their courage, and their ability to act intelligently under pressure. When the Dominion fleet entered the solar system, it was like a storm of metal and fire. Thousands of ships moved in coordinated waves, their weapons ready to strike, their engines screaming across space. Energy beams lit up the void, missiles streaked toward orbit, and massive cruisers advanced with terrifying speed. The Dominion believed that this final strike would be unstoppable. Humans met them head-on. Every orbital defense activated instantly. Energy shields absorbed massive blasts, redirecting them harmlessly into space. Missiles launched from ground stations and orbiting platforms, targeting key points on the alien ships. Humans had anticipated each maneuver, predicting trajectories, timing countermeasures perfectly. The Dominion's most powerful weapons were neutralized before they could even reach their targets. On the surface, humans worked tirelessly to support the defense. Engineers rerouted power through backup systems, repairing damage from minor impacts. Pilots flew daring intercept missions, dodging enemy fire while striking critical weak points in the fleet. Strategists coordinated attacks across continents, using satellites, drones, and ground intelligence to maintain control. Every individual, whether on the front lines or behind the scenes, played a part in this enormous coordinated effort. The Dominion was shocked. No matter what they tried, humans adapted, countered, and even turned the attacks against them. Ships that had been considered invincible were disabled or destroyed with precision strikes. Elite strike teams failed to break through, and command vessels struggled to maintain communication. Confusion spread rapidly among the alien ranks, panic beginning to creep into their officers' voices. What the aliens could not understand was how humans combined logic, intuition, and creativity. While the Dominion relied on rigid plans, humans adjusted on the fly, improvising solutions to problems the aliens had not anticipated. Pilots altered flight paths mid-mission, engineers corrected system failures instantly, and strategists coordinated attacks in ways that made the Dominion seem slow and disorganized. Every engagement revealed the ingenuity and courage of humanity. As the battle raged, the Dominion fleet began to falter. Ships collided or drifted powerless, some caught in the precise energy traps that humans had set in orbit. Elite soldiers were trapped in defensive zones, their weapons neutralized by technology they had not even known existed. The Dominion had expected fear and chaos to be their allies, but they found only intelligence, courage, and unyielding determination. Humans, despite the constant attacks, did not hesitate. Every maneuver, every counterstrike, and every repair was deliberate. Civilians contributed by maintaining communication networks, monitoring energy grids, and assisting emergency responses. Every human action, large or small, mattered. It was this combination of preparation, courage, and unity that turned the tide of battle. The Dominion tried to regroup, launching their most powerful weapons and concentrating their attacks on one city after another. Massive energy beams cut through orbit, missiles tore across the atmosphere, and destroyers advanced in formation. But humans were always ready. Shields expanded and reconfigured, satellites intercepted missiles mid-flight, and orbital disruptors disabled key engines and weapon systems. Every attack that should have devastated the planet was rendered ineffective. Even when a few human systems failed, there was no panic. Engineers, scientists, and operators worked instantly to repair damage, reroute power, and recalibrate defenses. Pilots responded with daring maneuvers, striking vulnerable points on enemy ships while avoiding fire. Every member of humanity involved in the battle acted with focus and courage, demonstrating that no technology alone could replace the determination of people defending their home. The Dominion fleet was shrinking. Ship by ship, squadron by squadron, they were disabled, destroyed, or forced to retreat. Confidence was replaced by fear, pride by frustration. No longer could they overwhelm humans with numbers or firepower. Every attack met resistance, every maneuver was anticipated, and every mistake was exploited. The humans had turned the battle into a war of intelligence, adaptability, and courage forces that the Dominion could not match. Above all, humans had proven something more important than technology or strategy: unity. Every human contribution, from soldiers to engineers to civilians, reinforced the collective strength of the planet. Their coordination, ingenuity, and bravery made Earth more than a planet. It became a fortress. The Dominion could see it now. The humans were not just defending. They were dominating the battlefield with skill and courage that no alien force had ever encountered. As the final waves of the Dominion fleet fell, humans pressed the advantage. Strategic strikes disabled the remaining command ships, while orbital disruptors and energy pulses neutralized escape attempts. Pilots took calculated risks, intercepting retreating ships and forcing surrenders without unnecessary destruction. The battle that had seemed impossible was now under humanity's control. The last Dominion ships, battered and broken, attempted a final retreat, but humans remained vigilant. Satellites tracked every movement. Orbital defenses blocked escape. Routes and humans on the ground coordinated strikes to ensure that no ship could regroup. The once mighty fleet was reduced to a shadow of its former strength, and its officers could do nothing but watch as humanity proved its superiority through courage, intelligence, and determination. On Earth, people breathed a quiet sigh of relief. Cities were intact, systems remained operational, and the planet had survived the greatest threat in its history. Engineers repaired minor damage, pilots returned to stations, and strategists analyzed the battle to prepare for any future threats. Humans had learned the power of preparation, adaptability, and unity. They had faced overwhelming odds and emerged victorious, not through fear, not through panic, but through intelligence, courage, and cooperation. The Dominion fleet had underestimated humanity, assuming that fear, power, and intimidation were enough to conquer. They learned a harsh lesson. Intelligence, adaptability, and determination could overcome even the most advanced technology. Humans had defended their home with skill, precision, and courage, showing the universe that even a seemingly small and young species could resist domination. As night fell on the planet, Earth remained alive and vigilant. Humans celebrated quietly, knowing that victory had been hard won, and that survival depended not on weapons alone, but on people working together. Every human, from pilot to engineer to civilian, had played a part. Every contribution mattered. Humanity had proven that courage, intelligence, and unity were the greatest weapons of all. The Dominion had retreated into the far reaches of space, their pride shattered, their fleet damaged, and their confidence in humanity shaken. They had encountered a species that refused to be intimidated, adapted faster than they could attack, and fought with intelligence and courage that no weapon could defeat. Earth had survived, and humanity had proven that it would never surrender. By the end of Part 6, the story reached its conclusion. Humanity had faced an overwhelming threat, adapted to every challenge, and defended its home with intelligence, courage, and unity. The Dominion fleet was destroyed or forced to retreat, and Earth remained safe. Humans had not only survived, they had proven themselves capable of extraordinary things when united for a common purpose. And above it all, As the stars twinkled quietly in the distance, humanity remained vigilant, ready for whatever came next. They had learned that survival depended not on fear, not on strength alone, but on courage, intelligence, and the unbreakable bond between people fighting for their home. The war was over for now, but the lesson was clear. Humanity was not just survivors. They were defenders, warriors, and a force to be reckoned with in the universe. And Earth, their home, would never be taken without a fight.